I'm Kristen Wister from the Landenberg Loft, and I'm not in the loft today. I'm down by the shore, so enjoying a weekend down here. Hopefully, it's not going to rain too much. Um, but I'm excited to be doing a live conversation with Katie O'Brien Mackie today. She is the Landenberg Loft Spotlight, and she is a very multi-talented woman, an evidential medium. Let me see if I can say all that you are. And she also has her own business called Blue Herring Healing. And she offers just so many really neat modalities like hypnotherapy, Reiki, mediumship, sound healing, and past life regression. And I could be missing some, but it's such a beautiful combination of all the work that you do. And I'm just so curious to learn more about you. And also, she is going to be hosting an event at the Landenberg Loft that I'm very excited about called An Evening with Spirit in June. And we'll be talking about that just a little bit later. But first, I just want to welcome you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, this is fun. This is fun. And for those of you on Facebook, the back end has gotten so complicated that I can't see anyone's comments or who's on. But if you want to just let us know where you're from, and if you have any questions, then Katie can always get back to you afterwards. And I think that would be great. If you have questions that come up as we go along, or any kind of comments that you want to make, would be wonderful. Sorry that we can't engage with you. They're making some changes in the back end. Um, so what I always first ask is just a question about what's a fun, surprising fact about you.
Um, I know I answered this in the Loft Spotlight, but I think I'll switch it up a little bit for what I said for that. Because I was thinking about this and it happened a couple months ago and I haven't really talked about it much, but it was such an honor. A couple months ago, I got notified by this woman in California. She's got a podcast and quite a big following. I've been following her for a couple of years, and she contacted me to say that when she and her young family lost everything in the Palisades fire, and was going through a rough time and reached out and asked for suggestions for spiritual healers. And she had people, like her trusted people, give names and suggestions. So she vetted everybody and came up with a list of the top 25 spiritual healers in the country. And I was number 3 on her
Wow.
list. So it was such a nice surprise. And um, I was very appreciative. And I just haven't posted about it or anything. It was a little overwhelming at first. So that's just a little fun, surprising fact that I had that little honor.
That surprised you.
It did. It did. I don't know who recommended me. I do have clients all over the country, but with her being in California, I do have a few California clients. So I guess somebody from there recommended me. But yeah, it was really nice.
That's amazing because you just kind of started your business, what, like 3 years ago?
Not even. It was the fall of 2023, so late 2023 when I started. I took early retirement. I was a school psychologist for deaf children
Right.
as my career and was doing blue hair and healing on the weekends and evenings, and just got to a point where I felt like I was helping more people in my business than I was in my job that had become a lot of like IQ testing and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
I took early retirement and focused on this full time.
Wow. So how did it get started for you? I'm always curious about, I have so many questions. I don't even really know where to start, as far as you and your gifts that started to come through. And how did that start for you?
That's a good question. So growing up, I always had premonition dreams. I would dream about something and then it would happen in the next day or two. and just very strong intuition, that sort of thing. And then when I was 29 and my father passed away, he started coming to me pretty frequently. But I just figured that was because we were used to talking every day. And, I know he was coming, going to some of my siblings as well and my mom. So I didn't think much of it. And then when I became a Reiki practitioner and started working with energy, I'd be working on a client and spirit would come through for them. And so I was really surprised, like, oh, your grandmother's here. It was just kind of took me aback a little. But, we're all made up of energy. So
Mhm.
when we die, we just go to a different frequency. So
Yeah.
it made sense to me, but I decided to start exploring it more because then they would wake me up at night. Like once I opened the gates, it just was like a free for all. And,
Wow.
I'd be out to dinner and see things or hear things, and they'd wake me up at night. And that really happens when you're not trained. So I started taking classes, and I'm kind of a learnaholic. So I
Mhm.
took classes, all over and online and, various places, and really developed the skill, um, and learned how to shut it down when I'm not working, that sort of thing,
Right.
which that's very
Right.
important to know how to do.
Yeah.
So
So when
that,
you say they, are you saying those who have crossed that are trying to come through and get their message across, or are they more your spirit guides, or is it all the above? Like who do you feel was coming in?
at that time, it was spirit. It was people who had passed.
Okay. And
So
yeah, do you feel like those who have crossed that want to share are like all like, oh my God, I found someone I can send this message through, and they're looking to communicate because others just don't always pick it up. Is that what you're finding?
definitely, definitely. I remember I was out in the hammock one time, and a spirit came through and wanted me to get a message to somebody that I grew up with, but I hadn't been in contact with him since junior high, and I was like, I was Facebook friends with him and knew he lived in Florida, but I was like, no, I was in the closet for a long time. I have to tell you, I did not want to tell people that I was doing this. And I
Yeah.
was like, no, sorry, I'm not contacting this guy
Yeah.
who he's going to think I'm crazy. And he just kept bugging me and bugging me, the spirit. And so I got up and took a walk thinking I need to, shake this. And he showed me like it looked like an organ, bodily organ with the lower left hand quadrant black. And I thought, is that a heart? So I'm like, great. So now if I see that this guy died, I'm going to feel guilty that I didn't. So I was like, fine. So I like message him on Facebook. Hey, long time no see.
That's,
Weird. Oh, and when he came to me, he said, I'm this guy's brother and I died in a motorcycle accident.
oh, okay.
Like, okay. So I messaged him like, weird question, but do you have a brother named? No, I said, do you have a brother who passed in a motorcycle accident a couple of years ago? And he's like, oh yeah, that's my brother Michael. And I was like, well, this is going to sound really weird, but he wanted me to get a message to you. And he's like, oh no, it's not weird. He always tries to get in contact with me.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
So yeah, so I set up a FaceTime call with him and gave him the message, connected with him and gave him the messages, which, he just really wanted him to, it was an interesting message. I told about the quadrant, the lower left-hand quadrant. And I said, I don't know if you have heart issues or you want to get that checked out. And he said, well, I did just get checked out. My heart's fine, but I had kidney cancer and the lower left-hand quadrant of my kidney was
Wow.
removed because that's where
Oh
the
my
cancer was.
God.
So I feel
Wow.
like the guy kind of tricked me a little to get me to contact him. But um,
Yeah.
yeah, his message, he and his mom came through, and it was just, he wanted him to know that he doesn't have to think of them every day. They know that
Oh,
he misses them and he loves them, and he
yeah.
was kind of stuck in his grief. So
Wow.
he was
Okay.
happy to hear that. But
That's amazing. That's so amazing. Gosh. Yeah. When you when you have contact with them, are you hearing, seeing, like sensing, like what do you how
all
do
of the above. Yeah, I see, hear, feel, and
Okay.
the knowing. So
Okay.
yeah, those are called the clairs,
Yep.
clairsentience, clairaudience, all of that.
Hmm.
And an example of how they make me feel, sometimes if they passed of a heart attack, they'll make my heart hurt, or I get a headache, and that's how they let me know that they passed of a stroke or
Okay.
brain cancer or something to do with the brain.
Okay.
So things like that.
Yeah. Fascinating. Um, Years ago, I think it was 2010, my father-in-law passed away. And at the time, I was getting Reiki with someone else and had no idea that she communicated with spirit. And um, it just kind of happened. And he came in so strong. It was literally like 2 days after he passed, I had my first Reiki session, and she was saying, do you know Michael? And I was like, oh my God. And he was his energy. He had a huge personality to begin with. And I think he was so grateful because he knew I was out there, and always kind of, he always poked at me, kind of made fun of me, but in a good way. I felt like we really loved each other in this really sweet way. And he knew that he could get the message through to me. And the Reiki person had to basically tell him to just please be quiet. Like after a while, it was just she wanted to do other things and bring in other people, and he just was insistent to pass his messages on. And he had me literally laughing hysterically. He said to me, don't get too skinny, because he was, a little bit heavier weight, and I was always kind of, working out. And that would be something. He was very sarcastic. So he said that, and that had me like laughing hysterically. And then he said something kind of serious, and then I was sobbing. It was just like this back and
Oh,
forth. But I got out in the car, and I was so blown away. And it was so healing for me, just to know that. And I know that, and I believe it. But to have someone very close and near and dear to you, and their personality be exactly as they are,
yes.
and come through, it was so healing and cathartic for me. And
That's beautiful. And
yeah.
that's why I do this. It's because it's healing for people.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, and so when you evidential medium, so explain what that means exactly.
So that means that when I connect with spirit, I get evidence um, that means nothing to me, but it's a way of identifying who we have here, and just kind of it's proof, and it's things like personality, like you said, or um, just different facts about them. For example, with the guy I was just talking about, with the one in Florida with the brother who came through, I said, he's showing me a fish bowl. Do you guys have fish? Did you guys have fish growing up? Which I try not to do. I try to stay out of my left thinking brain and just
Yeah.
download from my right. But I was just starting out. And he said, well, we did, but the fish bowl was the name of his favorite bar. And that's where he was the night he died. So
Wow.
that's just evidence that means nothing to me, but it's like, hey, this is me. So
Yes.
my job is to bring in the evidence so that we make sure that we have the right person, the right spirit, and just kind of as validation. But for me, the most important part of the whole process are the messages, because that's where the healing is.
Mm,
Um, so it is evidence based, but it's my goal and purpose is to bring through the messages for the healing.
right. Right. And I'm sure you've seen so much. I mean, it's probably just heart opening to see people's reactions, and just to give them a sense of peace. I mean, how do you feel it heals them when they hear these messages? And have you worked with someone that is pretty like closed-minded, but then is kind of like, wow, and changes how they feel?
Yeah, I had one last week.
Mm.
um, Someone in New Jersey. It was a Zoom, but yeah, it's interesting. The way that I find that it's healing is just like how you said with your father-in-law coming in,
Mhm.
just to know that they're there. Sometimes I have people who've taken their own lives come through, And that's healing for the sitter because a lot of times they want to let them know that there was nothing that they could have done, or they answer questions about why and what they were going through, and let them know that they're at peace now, so it's healing for people to know, to get some answers, but
Yeah.
also just to know that they're okay, that they're out of pain, that they're, if somebody passed who had cancer, or that they didn't suffer at the end when it happened, if it was an accident. um, Things like that can just be very healing. And I always ask, how do you ask the spirit for to let me know how they let the person know that they're around? And a
Yeah.
lot of times they're like, I knew that was, you know, that bird knocking on my window was him, or
I
whatever it
know.
is,
Yeah. Yeah.
or flickering lights, or,
Right.
it's confirmation for people to know that they're still around.
Yes. Yes. And I think it's when we question it, like when I'll find dimes on the ground, and it's always my dad. I know that. But then you could just be like, that's just a dime. But you just know the magic's there if you
Yeah.
just, it's like we have to stay out of that analytical mindset that always wants to push away the magic and the the joy that is in there in the present moment.
hmm Yeah. And a lot of times when, you asked about the somebody maybe being a skeptic or closed off and then turning around. And it doesn't happen much because I feel like if they're going to come to me,
Right.
clearly they believe somewhat. But I did have a mother and son last week, and the poor mom had been through a lot, and an older woman, and she kind of sat there the whole time all closed up, and then as we went, and she started to realize, that it was legit. She started to relax and was able to get some healing out of her tragedies.
Yeah, that's so good. That's just so good. Yeah, I told you I just lost my dog. We put him down, had him for 16 years, um but we did, the euthanasia was so sacred. We did this with our other dog, and just had the whole family together, and we all made the decision, okay, that I didn't want the decision just to be mine. And so it's really nice for each one of us to share and be in agreement. Um, and I just, said all my things, um, and it was just lovely to hold him at the end.
Oh,
And I just know, like, because we lost our other dog, Herc, um, several years ago, and so I printed out a picture of both of them, and I was just imagining as soon as he, was just taking his last breath, that I was just imagining where he was so free, just that.
yeah.
And that's what helped me get through it, just that faith and knowing that we're eternal, and we're energy, and we shift and move into this next phase, and to be free of the pain and suffering. And um
Yeah.
yeah.
That's beautiful. You're going to make me cry.
I know.
Beautiful.
Oh,
And a lot of times I have to tell you, when I bring spirits in, they have their pets with them. And so
oh,
that's kind of part of the evidence, I'll say, oh, he's got a white poodle with him. And I'm like, oh yeah, and they know who it is. And
yeah.
occasionally people will ask me to bring in their pets
Yeah.
as well. And so, and it's nice because the pets do, a couple of weeks ago, I was working with someone in North Carolina, and at the end of who she wanted to talk to, she said, can you call in? She showed me a couple pictures of her cats and and a dog. And so anyway, I bring them in, and one of the cats showed me that his eye was just crusted shut. And so I told her that, and she said at the end, they found out that he had a tumor behind his eye and it was always crusted shut. And
uh,
so that's just kind of evidence. The cat even gave me evidence,
yeah. Yeah.
that it was really him.
Oh, that's so
So
special.
it's a nice thought. I'm so sorry for your loss. It's such a loss. It's such a an act of love to put them out of their
Mm.
misery or pain and let them, and I'm sure your dog's reunited with the one that went before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's still so hard for us for their,
Hard. It's hard to be responsible, to be the person that's going to, end their life. and yet it's a privilege too. Like it's just because I know that it was the right thing to do, and it was just I had waited a little too long with my other dog, and I probably waited a little too long with Mo, but then again, it's all meant to be, and I asked him to show me a sign, and I felt like it was time, and so
What a
yeah.
gift. What a gift that you gave him.
Well, thank you. Ooh, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our pets are such a
Oh,
loved part. And so I've got my
they
dog right
are.
next to me here, my
Yeah,
sidekick.
yeah. So, I'm going to ask you just a few more questions. And when you work with people one-on-one, do you find that you do a lot of mediumship, or does it just change? Is it like, what do people come to you for help?
So it really is a variety of things. I do a lot of hypnosis. Typically, it's a 5-week session, and I see a lot of, especially these days, travel anxiety that I can get rid of for people, through hypnosis, like flying, fear of driving over bridges. I see a lot of that, but it's also unwanted habits, things like that, that I will work with people through hypnosis. I often have clients come for what I call my signature service, which is Reiki. I use all my modalities. I have, I do like a guided meditation, get them into a hypnotic state because that's the best way that healing occurs is when your brain waves have slowed down and you're relaxed. So I use the hypnosis techniques. I clear negative energy, check the chakras, all of that, balance the energy through Reiki and work on healing. And then when I'm up at their crown chakra, I tap into their spirit guides to get messages. And then I finish with a sound crystal bowl sound bath healing, which helps open up the chakras. And it's just a pretty cool experience for people. So I do have a lot of regular clients who come back for that pretty frequently. But I have to say, I think my mediumship is probably what keeps me the most busy because that I can do over Zoom. And like I said, I have clients all over the country and in Europe as well. I have some, because word kind of spreads, clients there. So I'd say that is probably, yeah, I always say like it's like picking when people say what's your favorite, it's like picking out your favorite child. You just they're all you can't. But I'd say the mediumship. And when I do these large group events, I get a
Yeah,
lot of clients from that. So I'd say
sure.
mediumship is my most popular.
Yeah, and you're doing big groups, like you do groups that are 150 people.
Hmm.
You kind of train to learn how to
Yes.
do that kind of modality, which is interesting. That I'm sure that's a whole different animal to navigate, but it sounds like you're good at it. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy it because as one of my teachers, Lisa Williams, said, when you touch the heart of one, you touch the heart of many.
Mm,
So
yeah.
that's why I do it, because even though not everybody clearly can get a reading, it's healing for everybody to witness it. Because if somebody's getting a reading and clear evidence that their loved one's around, that means your loved one's around, and it's just touching to see the impact. I have several people who like go to many of my events, go to each one. So that tells you, even though they're not getting readings, it's a healing experience to be there.
Love that. I love that. So that leads us to the event that you're going to be holding at the Landenberg Loft. It's not going to be as large a group as 150 because we can't fit that many people. I would if I could. Uh, so there's going to be maybe up to 30 people. And
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I know it's going to be a little bit more intimate. And on June, what is it,
If,
5th? 5th
yeah.
from 6:30 to 8:30, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And do you want to just share a little bit more about how it works?
Sure. So I tap into spirit, and usually there's a lot of them there. And so, I ask somebody to come forward, or the ones who are a little more assertive come through first, and I explain who I have there. I just that's where the evidence comes in. I'll say, I'll give names, how they passed, relations, that sort of thing. And then people in the audience will raise their hand if they understand it, if they can take that spirit. When I have more than one raise their hand, then I keep giving more evidence until we figure out who I'm with.
Okay.
Then once we've established that, I get the messages for them. And
Wow.
then, we wrap up and I get the next spirit in. Um, so yeah, that's how it works.
I'm just imagining all these spirits like barreling in, and I'd probably be kind of one like, oh no, you go first. Like, no, you
Well,
go.
that's the thing. That's the thing. And that's what I try to tell people. Like my father never would have come through in a group,
Yeah.
because it would be like, oh no, you go, like
You go
just the
first.
gentleman. Right. Right. So it's fun to see who comes through. And so many times I'll wrap up with the first one that comes through, say, is, usually pretty funny and vivacious.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, I'll thank them when I'm closing out that reading. And they're like, oh, we're not going anywhere. We're just going to sit over here.
That was my father-in-law. Every time I would go see her, like for weeks and months down the road, he was always barreling in. Like first thing, she's like, "Wait a minute, I'm bringing the angels in. Like, can you back off a little bit?" He's like, "So, like, did you get this message through, or make sure they're doing this?" Um,
Yeah.
and it was
That personality comes through.
yeah, yeah, so funny. And I unfortunately, this I put my foot in my mouth. Quite a bit with my family because some of them just weren't quite ready to hear these messages. I was sharing with my husband kind of right off the bat, like you wouldn't believe what just happened, and it was too much for him. And but it was it's like you kind of have to learn your audience sometimes, and that's why I'm excited. I think he's going to be coming, and
Oh,
um,
good.
I just yeah, I have, close family members that are just kind of like, yeah, yeah, I don't know if that's real. So it's just, until you experience it, really, you can't go back after that.
Right.
It just opens you up to really what the truth is. And um, so I'm just so excited.
Yeah. And, I always make a point in my introductions to say, I don't mind skeptics. I've had people quiz me on the name of their cat that they had when they were little, like, and I can do it. It's fine. But I ask that you make a one-on-one appointment to play Stump the Medium. It's what I call Stump the Medium game.
Oh,
Because in a large group, you want the energy high, you want the energy pure, and it's about love and light.
great.
And we just don't want the negativity to infiltrate anything. I just say, leave your skepticism at the door. You can pick it up on your way out if you still want to. But
Right.
just because it's such a lovely experience for people there, that I just want to keep it about love and light
That's
and
beautiful.
healing.
Yeah. And that's like creating boundaries. And I think that that's beautiful. It's necessary for the work that you do.
Yeah, and for the experience of everyone there. I
Yeah.
care about everyone who's coming to see me, so I want it to be healing.
Yeah. So is there any one particular session or anything that pops to your mind that was really quite amazing for people? I'm sure there's probably so many that you get, but
Yeah. Yeah, so many. I was at a restaurant doing an event a few weeks ago, and there was a young woman whose mom came through who had passed. And that was just, I think everybody in the room was crying. It was just so um, impactful. It's just, yeah, things like that are just very touching. And she had good messages. She was showing me a diploma, and she's like, oh, yeah, I stopped going to school when she got sick. And I'm like, she's showing me a diploma. She wants you to go back to school.
mm.
Get it.
Oh, it feels
She's
like
like, yeah, I was thinking about it. Yeah. So yeah, a lot. I could go on and on, but There are a
Sure.
lot. Yeah. Yeah. There was one that just popped in my head, experience with this woman who was at one of my groups, and then she did not get a reading, but she contacted me afterwards and said that she wanted a reading to find, she wanted to talk to her grandmother, but she also wanted to find out if her father was alive. They had lost contact.
Oh, okay.
And so I thought, well, that's different. I've never done that. But I, got connected, and because I could see him, that meant that he was on the other side. And
Oh,
he told me how he passed and gave me some evidence that it was really him. Told me just several things and that I passed along to her. And about a month later, she contacted me and said that she finally got notification that he had passed, and it was everything that he told her in the
mm,
reading, how it happened, his condition when he, just a whole bunch of things. So
yeah,
things like that just really, never cease to surprise me as long as I've been doing this.
sure. And you're kind of, just really blossoming. There's just so much more. This is amazing. Gosh. So any last words, anything else you want to share with us?
I'm grateful to be on here with you, and feel very blessed to be able to do this work, to help heal people. No, and I hope people come out on the 5th. Um, It'll be
Yeah.
lovely in your beautiful space. I love the Landenberg Loft.
Thank you.
It's such a nice feeling of community, and it feels like a healing space. As soon as you walk in, you can feel
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
I'm just really grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. I'm just blessed to have met you, and I'm really looking forward to just having you in the community and sharing your messages. And I just think this is such beautiful work that you're doing, and so necessary, really, for us to work through our grief and not to fear death. Not to there's such a fear base around death, and I think it's really the suffering piece that's the hardest part. For us as our parents get older and or friends or family or but then when you see them on the other side or hear them on the other side, they're just so full of life. And so it's like this going back and forth between the human part of us that's mourning and then also that relief to know that they're okay. And so you're really helping so many people with grief and with life and life and death and the balance that just keeps going. It's a beautiful work that you're doing, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. That's a beautiful way to put it about how, grief is so difficult.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
Thank you. Well, this has been so lovely. I so appreciate it. And I certainly hope you guys can come and be with us on June 5th and experience it yourself, or get in touch with Kate. And I'll put all the links below. So if you want to work one-on-one with her, or if you want to come to the loft or one of her other events, you will be able to contact her. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have a Calendly thing that we can link, and people can also just sign up for a free consultation call if they have questions. And, or I also do in-home small groups, up to 10 people, so that I make sure everybody gets a reading. So people can go through that to talk to me about that as well.
fantastic. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you so much, Kristen. I appreciate it. It's lovely
Absolutely.
talking to you.
You too. Take care.
You
Mhm.
too. Sorry
Bye-bye.
about your dog.
Oh, thank you.